Yeah, we don't want transcription. Sick. I feel like a prof up here. At least I don't want to do this after I graduate. Yeah, I don't care about that. That's fine. Sick. All right, now I'm opening the PowerPoint. Like 5 more seconds. I'll tell if someone don't count. I'm gonna get mad. All right, there we go. All right, so this is engine drivetrain. I'm gonna go through some like simple stuff. So if you know it, I'm not gonna be shocked. If you don't know it, that's fine. That's why we're doing this. As well, please like have questions ready at the end. So if there's something I explain it doesn't make sense, like you can stop me in the middle and ask a question. If y'all don't ask questions, I'm gonna ask questions at the end to make y'all ask questions. So don't make me do that. That usually happens, but it provokes people to ask questions. So sometimes it works. All right. So first thing, where's the? Oh, there it is. Sick. Sorry, I moved the slides around. I've done this for 2 years now, and like, yeah, I moved them. I changed it, so I got confused. All right. First thing, there's 4 strokes in a 4-stroke engine. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Okay. Stroke 1, you're pulling air in, so the piston's traveling down. You can see that. Can y'all see my mouse? Sick. Okay, so that's the first stroke. The piston's moving down and it's pulling air in through the intake port. And then the second stroke, the piston will start going up and all of your valves will be closed and it'll actually compress the air fuel mixture. And then when it gets to the top, the spark's going to ignite and then it's going to send the piston down or near the top. Yes, but we'll go more into that, like about timing later. It'll send the piston downwards because it's like gas and it explodes and it's compressed. So then goes down and then using that momentum to do the remaining 3 strokes again. But it goes up and it exhausts and it does the same thing again. So that's what's happening in your engine when it's like making noises when you turn the key. Yeah. So by rules, we can't have 2 strokes or Doritos. They're fun 2 strokes, like they make more torque because they combust more per revolution or per cycle. So yeah, they're a little bit better. Rotaries are fun. It'd be cool to have one in the car, but like tough. Apex seals are sucky. Okay, so 4-stroke motor. I kind of listed things out from like general items from the top of the engine to the bottom. So this is like what the 4-stroke do. We can reference that again, but like, so you can see it shows, I guess I'll wait for it to start at 1. So this is the first stroke. It's pulling air in when the intake opens, it compresses, and then it combusts, sends it down, exhaust opens, and sends it out. Right? That makes sense? Okay. So then you have all those components. I like listed the slides out in that order. So like we can go through all those components. Cams. So that is what opens and closes and yeah. So that's like what opens, closes valves, exhaust and intake, depending on how your cams are set up. And R6 specifically, you have 2 cams. You have 1 for intake and 1 for exhaust. Some engines have just a single cam. LSs are famous for doing that. If you don't know about LSs. And then, yeah, so ours will just have 1. So that camshaft, the picture on there, it's not from an R6, but that's what it looks like. So it has 4 valves per cylinder. So you have 2 intake valves, 2 exhaust valves. You can see on this thing here. Can I minimize this? That'd be sick. Sick. Okay. You can see here. So as you do a stroke, so I guess I explained it intake, compression, exhaust. So I'll start here. I hope that's not confusing. But so you're going down and your intake valve will be open and it'll be pulling air into the system. And then as you get to the bottom of the cylinder, your intake valve like will be somewhere, well, it depends on your timing, but your intake valve will start closing and then it'll close, and then you'll start compressing when your piston starts moving up. And then it'll combust, and then it'll send it down, and then before it gets to the bottom, it'll open your exhaust valve, and then it'll start moving up an exhaust. And then the overlap here, we'll talk about that later in another class. That's called lobe separation angle, and we'll talk more about like how you can utilize that. Actually, that might be in this class. I don't know. Well, maybe. I tried to like set the classes up from the previous, so we'll see if I put it in here. But yeah, so that's how cams work. They like go to the crankshaft. Yeah.
Is the motor we have in the car now an interference motor?
No, it shouldn't be. No. Yeah. If it is, that's bad. I guess I'll explain that. So like with an engine, if your valves, so like basically if you go to top dead center and you push your valve all the way down and it hits, like that's interference. So most of the times they have reliefs in the piston. I put that in the piston slide so we can talk about that there. But they'll have reliefs, and like it makes it where your valves won't hit your piston like the crown. So yeah. But and then like I put the cam profile up there so you can see the cams have those lobes. The angle is your duration of like how large that is. And then the actual size of the lobe is your lift. So that's how much the valve gets open. Yeah. Yeah, they are. Yeah, we're running stock cams. But yeah, the R6 is tuned quite aggressively because it is a motorcycle. It's just a toy. They're not trying to make it efficient. They're not trying to make it like last long. It's a toy. So yeah, there's some things that they do to make it a little wackier. As well, if y'all look at that camshaft on there, I keep pointing to my screen with my finger. That's probably not helpful. See how like the lobe is at this side and then this one's on this side? That one's pointed that way and that one's pointed that way. So that's actually like when your pistons fire. They don't all fire at the same time. I guess I should explain that. So like, what? Really? Okay, so
single cylinder.
yeah, I guess, but then it wouldn't have all of those things on there. Okay, so if it was for the R6 in specific, it actually fires 1, 2, 4, 3. So that's going from the clutch side to the stator side. So that's like how it would do the cycle, which it helps with balancing as well. That's why like inline fours are insane. They're really well balanced. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's all on cams. If anyone has any questions. Okay. As well, y'all can ask more at the end if you have one. How you do what? Oh, ignition timing. Since we use since we're like tuned, we're not like distributor. We just do it software. Yeah. So valve springs, that's like, I guess that would be above the, oh no, that's below the cam. Tough. Yeah, I thought I did the valve. All right, so that's like the part that goes like to the, so like those little guys here, see this little stem? That is your valve. Those little clips, this thing right here is a retaining clip. So that holds your valve in place. And these little rings right here, those are like, they seat the spring. So once you put those retaining clips in, the spring will actually hold your valve up. So the only thing you would really change your valves for is with the high RPM motor like the R6 or your valve springs. With a high RPM motor like the R6, you actually can get valve float, but it is stock and revs really high. So we shouldn't see an issue with that as well. We don't rev as high as the stock one does because we're restricted. So, but yeah, if your valves aren't strong enough, your spring will actually stay open because of the force of the air getting cooled in, and like the speed of the cam moving will actually like kind of bounce your spring down, and it'll kind of stay open. So you need to get stronger springs. That's kind of it about valve springs. sometimes you can get like, what's it called? They can like become like underdamped, I guess is the way you describe it if you had vibrations in control, but y'all don't have that, so I don't know how to describe that in simple terms anymore. They can like resonate within themselves, so sometimes you need to add like spring dampeners in it. I don't know if y'all seen that. Yeah, R6 valves. So that's the part that like lets air in and out. So you can see that right here is actually the face that seals on the head. So when it moves up, this face right here will seal against the head and not let air in or out if it's closed. And then this is the retaining ring, the retaining clips, like that's how they get held in. So yeah, and then you have like your stems and stuff. Yeah, they're not too complex. Questions? Awesome. There's your head. So those, the head just holds like your valves, your spark plugs, cams. Well, I guess it depends. For the R6, your head holds your cams. There's some that like it goes in the block, but I kind of wrote this in terms of the R6 because that's all we really use. Well, and since most bike engines are overhead, but that's fine. They have these ports. That is your intake and exhaust ports. Well, I don't know which one it is on this. I'm gonna guess this one's intake because that's usually the angle they face, and this one's exhaust. So when this valve opens, your combustion chamber would be down here, and it's gonna pull air in, and then this valve's gonna close, and then it's gonna compress it, combust, and then this valve's gonna open, and it's gonna go out to your exhaust. That makes sense. Okay. That's all on that. Oh, your ports, sometimes you can like finish them, like you can get them ported is what they call it, ported and polished, and they like flow better. It kind of just help. Part of the stock. Yeah. Head gasket goes in between the head and the block. Kind of it just like seals it. Make sure like your coolant doesn't go in your combustion, and make sure your combustion doesn't go outside of the block. Yeah. Okay, cool. Block, so it has your cylinders, or I guess I'll go in order of the slide here. So it has coolant passages and oil passages. So your coolant flows through these little holes here, and they go into the head and just kind of like recirculate, and then they exit on the other side. We'll eventually look at an engine, I assume. I don't know if we're doing that for training. Hey, Mark, for our trainings, are we going to look at an engine? Like, are we going to do an engine teardown or? Okay. All right. Well, I guess I can. Yeah, your coolant will go like through the head, and then it'll go out, exit the engine. Oh, tough. I didn't want to do that. Nice. There we go. Oil, you have all your oil passages. So, like this one, you can have like oil go into the filter, and then go out into the engine. R6 is kind of cool. It's like got some neat oil passages in there that you can look at. I should put some pictures in here, but it's fine. We'll see it eventually. Sometime through classes or trainings. And then you have your cylinders. So all of your cylinder bores. This is where your piston travels upwards and downwards. So it kind of like keeps your cylinder in there, and it compresses all your rings. So you have your compression rings. That's actually like what keeps your compression from going in the block, because like your cylinders aren't actually just like straight, they kind of taper, so it compresses those rings as it goes towards the top, and then like you have gaps in your rings and stuff. I guess if we did an engine building class, that might make more sense, but I don't think we're going to do that. Piston, so this is like the guy that moves up and down. So you have the crown, that's like the very top part. So that is what is exposed to the combustion chamber. That has valve recesses, or yeah, valve reliefs like I talked about earlier. So that like helps if your valve like is going to be open while your piston is at the top, and make sure like doesn't hit it. And then we have your connecting rod, and that's going to be held in with a wrist pin that goes through this hole, and it has little C-clips that go in and hold it. And then your connecting rod is going to connect to your crankshaft with like these little bearings in there. And then here's your crankshaft. So you can see on here that the crankshaft mounts using these ones that are kind of in the middle. Yeah, so this is similar to the R6. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how it's actually patterned. So you have your main journal, main. So those are what attaches to the block. And then now that thing can rotate inside of the block. And then you have your crank pin journals, which are the ones that are kind of offset, and they have counterweights on the opposite side of them. So the connecting rods will actually connect to that, and then the counterweights actually offset the weight of the piston, and like, yeah. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so, and then that sends power to the wheels using the flywheel. Yeah, cool. Oh, also on this end here, usually you have something there to go to a like cam, like a chain or something, a belt, something along those lines. Yeah. And then displacement. So that is like so you can see how you calculate it here. If you have your stroke and your bore, it's just how you take the volume of the cylinder. It's divided by 4 because they use diameter, and 2 squared is 4. So I think that makes sense. Yeah. And then, yeah, it's all for displacement. That's how you calculate it. And then like you multiply by however many pistons you have. Intake, throttle body. So that is what helps distribute your air to each cylinder. For our car, we have to have a 20mm restrictor in line of the intake, so it's right after our throttle body. 19mm if you use E85, and we can use forced induction. We just haven't gone down that avenue yet.
If you use forced induction, are you allowed to have a larger intake?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what's interesting about the forced induction is your restriction actually has to be before the compressor wheel. So it actually has to pull all of your air through the restrictor. So like it has to be pre-turbo. Yeah. It's like where your air filter goes on a turbo. Yeah. If you have an air filter. Some people like don't, and they're mad. Okay, what?
What is the throttle body?
Oh, yeah. So this part right here is your throttle body. So that little brass piece right there, whenever this piece gets twisted, for our car in particular, it'd be with the throttle cable. Most like modern cars now, they have like an electric piece there that spins it when you push the gas. But so when this piece spins, it opens up that part, and it kind of looks like that. So you can like see into it, and there's like the parts become straight, and you have like air passages on the side of it. That didn't answer your question. I pulled a picture if that didn't make sense. Okay, awesome.
What's forced induction?
Forced induction is like turbo supercharger. Yeah.
Any major advantages in using E85?
So your main advantage for us would actually be your octane change. So the octane increase would help a lot. But due to the 19mm change, you wouldn't actually get any effect from the power density increase. Yeah.
Do we run E85 miles?
We do not.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're 20mm restrictor.
If you do though, would you have to change injectors, fuel lines, pumps?
You would. Yeah.
So, even if you go like with the 20mm restrictor, regardless of whether you're forced induction or not, like it has to be on the compressor wheel. Like, do you see a benefit for going forced induction?
There is a little benefit, but you do have weight increase as well. So it's kind of just one of those things of if we want to go down that avenue, we go on ETS and we put a turbo on there and we see how much the whole system would weigh, and then we see how much more power we get, and we see if it if it cancels out, if it's better, if it's worse. Yeah.
The turbo would like when your power like your dynograph like you like it back to the like long or turbo lag.
We shouldn't be affected by turbo lag as much, because of, I mean, turbo lag, if you size all your pipes right, you don't really get turbo lag. And then like if your turbo is not too big, you don't get turbo lag. So I mean, it's all about sizing stuff properly. You do have to get a really small turbo for a system of like our size because we don't pull that much air because it's restricted. Yeah. Sick. All right, I'll move on. So then you have your sensors that are in your intake. So you have your MAP, which is mass airflow pressure, or manifold air pressure, my bad. The MAF is mass airflow. MAP is manifold air pressure. So that actually goes inside of your intake manifold. On ours, it kind of is like that big chunky looking piece. So that would read how much pressure is inside of the like plenum. So that'll tell you how much air you are able to get into the engine. And you can use that for tuning. And then mass airflow is just another way to get that, but it's just kind of better because it shows you how much is going in, not how much is there. So with MAP, you just know how much is there. With MAF, it kind of helps you be more predictive in how you tune because it shows you, so like if you're sitting at idle and you stomp the gas, you're going to get a massive influx of air into your intake. With MAF, you'll be able to see that and you'll be able to predict how your engine should react. With MAP, you won't be able to see that until it's at the manifold. So yeah, but you can use Excel enrichment, which looks at TPS, which is throttle position sensor, and that'll actually look at your change of, I don't know how many of y'all have taken calculus, but it actually looks at like the derivative of the position of your TPS. Derivatives are just the change of something for the change of time. So like if you have a very fast change, you're gonna have, yeah, it's like the acceleration of your TPS. Is that okay? You have any questions on that? Awesome. Injection. So there's a couple other ones as well. There's some that do dual injection. Or that's, yeah, I'll get into that. Mainly port injection. That's what we use. If we were going to use a different injection, we would use port injection or dual injection, which you can have 2 injectors in your port, and that kind of helps with your duty cycle. So yeah, right now we just use 1 port injector. So for each port, each of the intake ports I talked about, you will have an injector that sprays fuel into the intake port as your intake valve is opening. So you can kind of time those. Well, you can do it wasted, but then it's not going to atomize as well. So like if you just spray your fuel and it's just kind of sitting there, or if you spray your fuel while your air is mixing, like while your air is flowing, then it'll kind of like mix the fuel and air as it goes into the combustion chamber. Yeah.
I have a question. So if you wanted to change like your injection type, would that require changing the block itself?
Yeah, it depends what you want to do. So if you wanted to do direct injection, you would have to like drill and tap a hole in that guy. If you want to just do 2 port injectors, then no, that's just in your intake runner. Yep. Yep.
So what injection method do
We use port injection. Yeah. Direct injection, just it goes straight into the combustion chamber. It's better at atomizing the fuel because it just goes straight in there. So it doesn't have to like get pulled in. And then there's some engines that actually do injection ignition. So it's not like compression ignition like a diesel, it actually like compresses everything and then injects the fuel. And right when it injects the fuel, it combusts. Those are interesting. You don't see them that often, but yeah.
So if we ran dual injectors, would we see a large increase in power if tuned correctly? Or since we can get more fuel in?
Well, okay, so fuel, the amount of fuel you can get in doesn't matter if you're not getting enough air in. So if we were getting enough air in where we needed another injector, yes. But we don't get enough air in. So if you look at the stock R6, they have 2 injectors per port. They do that because they get more air in, so it reduces the duty cycle of your injectors. So they don't have to be open as long. Yeah.
So are we running, do we still have both injectors in the port, or are we just running
Just one. Yeah.
So how do you see the hole?
Oh, no, well, everything's custom, except for the block, so, yeah. We made like our own little intake flanges that hold the injectors. Yeah. All right. Okay, so this is so for like how you would time your engine, you have, or I guess not timing. So this is your trigger wheels. So your main trigger wheel would be your crank, which you can just use a crank sensor to run your engine, but then you have to have everything weighted. So your crank wheel, all that shows you is when you get to top dead center for cylinder 1. Well, it might be different for other engines, but for the R6, the crank wheel shows you top dead center for cylinder 1. So each time it goes around, it shows you top dead center. So it could be top dead center of exhaust, or it could be top dead center of combustion, or where it's about to start combustion, or where it's about to start intake. Yeah, depends on how you look at it. But so if you do that, if you just have a crank sensor, then you're gonna have to have wasted spark, and it has to spark on both of those events because it doesn't actually know which one is the combustion event. Your crank sensor also gives you engine RPM, and then your cam sensor is better because it actually shows you when your engine is on your combustion stroke. So that'll be used to show you, yeah. So if you look at this one here, this blue one is your crank wheel, and it can show you when that missing, oh, I guess I didn't describe that. So the crank wheels have a bunch of teeth, yes. And then this part here can see when the teeth come by. Well, there's one tooth that doesn't have, one spot that doesn't have a tooth. And when that goes by, you can see it reads no signal. It just like is nothing there. So then that is like, it's a top dead center, it's a top dead center. And then your cam, when that goes by, it tells you, this is actually backwards of the R6. The R6 has a full piece around, and then it has a little notch taken out. But I couldn't find a picture of that, so I just used this one. But yeah, that shows when you are at top dead center of your combustion. So then you know you need to spark, and then as well, like you can time your other events on that. So like when you need to inject fuel and stuff like that. So we'll get into that more. Yeah.
How many degrees?
So it depends. So if you're talking about cranking, I think it's 20. Yeah, I think 20 is what we crank at. But it does change as your speed changes, and we'll talk about that a little more for the next class. But are like little summaries. Basically, engine moves faster, so spark earlier because fuel takes time to combust. Yeah. All right. But yeah, so like that's kind of how the engine knows when to fire. Yes. So. All right. We're good then. 2 sensors. So this just reads air fuel mixture in the exhaust. So we mainly use it to tune right now, but you can set the ECU to use EGO correction. So it would actually look at your O2 sensor and see if there's something that is off from the target goals you have, and it would actually like change itself. So yeah, but I mean, right now we don't use that, and we're still within an AFR error of 1%, so that's pretty good. I don't think we need to go to that, but it could help with efficiency. All right. Yeah.
Do regulations require us to run any type of catalytic converter?
No. All right. Okay, so here's some engine rules. So max displacement is 710 cc, intake restrictions 20 millimeters for non-E85 and 19 for E85, and there's a sound limit of 103 decibels at idle and 110 decibels at, I think it's 11,000 feet per second linear of the piston moving. So yeah. Yeah, I can't remember how they phrase that. I think it says like at speed or something is how they phrase that. But yeah, there's some rules. I just put some in there so I'd have a photo. So then what do we use? I said it a bunch, but here it is. So it's a Yamaha R6 motor, 600 cc. There's 4 valves per thing, or 16 valves in total because we have 4 cylinders. It's the chain for cam timing, and then 13.1 to 1 compression, and then it's port fuel injection. And then the gearbox is actually inside of, so here is that's your stator. I wish you showed the other side. That's tough. Basically on the other side, you would have your flywheel, and that would turn your transmission components. And then this guy right here is your output shaft. So inside of all of this, you have all your gears and stuff for a trans. Yeah.
Are we running these stock trans just
Yeah.
so it's not sequential?
Oh, well, it's pneumatic shifting. Yeah. But it's the stock trans, but it just has like a little solenoid that goes to the shifter. So like on your bike, you would actually hit it with your foot. Instead, there's just a pneumatic thing that hits it.
But does the driver have to clutch to change gears, or?
No. So they the system we have now, it'll actually cut spark. So when it cuts spark, it unsyncs all of the dogs in the trans. So like it's basically like a bunch of things in there. And when you're driving, they're gonna be like touching each other. And then when it cuts spark, they'll desync, and then you can change gears. But if they're touching, you're not going to be able to change gears. So when you cut spark, it'll let you change gears. So the drivers can just launch, and then they can just shift, and they don't have to let off or anything, or you can pull the clutch in. They can hold their foot to the floor. But yeah, I think it takes like half a second to shift. Yeah, that's pretty quick. The dog boxes are pretty good for shifting. So. Yep. All right. It's all right. I know you have that bathroom problem,
Yeah,
so it's all good. So yeah, that's what we use. And then like this is just an MRAX. I threw it in there for the meme. We don't use that. That's the other people that are worse than us. Oh, Bailey's not here anymore. Tough. No, the other people, you know, like those people, you like can't say their names. Yeah, those people are the worst. Questions? Yeah.
If money wasn't a input into it, would lightweight internals be smart to put in?
I mean, yeah. I guess sure. Why would that be good? I mean, he asked the question, so I figured he knew why.
It'll rev faster, and overall car will weigh less to a slight amount.
Yeah. I mean, as you decrease your rotating mass, which that takes away power from your engine. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, sure, if money wasn't an option. What?
Back around.
Oh, yeah.
Current online mode.
Yes. In the
I think I'm
you made the guy upset that has bathroom problems. That's never good.
Who's gonna formula SAE?
He's behind me too.
Yeah, in the new member channel, there's a pin message and it has the rules in there. Or if you just go to Google or whatever browser you like, you can type Formula SAE rules 2022 and they'll probably show up. If they don't, I'll talk to Google myself. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just money, reliability. The more you change a stock engine, the less reliable it is. So it's just that thing of doing it on ETS, seeing is it worth. Everything's an engineering decision. So if you, before you change it, you have to weigh out like what does it affect and how much benefit do you get. Yeah.
Why the R6?
I guess to answer that, history. Oh, okay. Well, I'd say now history because I like to try a 450. But
There's 3 4 cylinders that make sense. There's the DVR, the Gixxer, and the R6. The R6 and the Gixxer have almost identical seats. So we picked the R6 because as the transmission slightly allows better packaging.
what he said.
But yes, if you were looking at again, there's a 50-50 split. Teams running on 450 and running on 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
What does Michigan run?
And racing?
They run an electric car.
They don't have combustion?
No, sir.
Year without it. They were R6 up till then.
Gotcha.
That's why we got 21st instead of 22nd. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Did you want to put on a rod?
Oh yes. A long time ago, someone forgot to put oil in there when they rebuilt the motor. They spun all the bearings. Yeah, they like fully built that motor and then like.
Teams throw rods off very often.
On the summer right now, there's a video. The rods go tracks. Some of the rod
So what's often fail? What often fails?
Like just in endurance?
Yeah, like
No, in throwing a rod or like in endurance? Like, does it have to be E&D specific or like just in general?
like in general, often fail.
I mean, some teams overheat.
Wait, you say when a rod is done?
Yeah.
Oh,
You got a rod, you goddamn block.
No, like what fails?
Like what causes it?
Right, what causes it?
No, like, almost always know what fails the most in endurance.
I'd say like,
Electronics.
oh, that's fair as well.
It's definitely electronics. Those cars come in and then cannot go back out.
That's why carbureted cars are the best.
Carbureted legal in SAE? I think so. Everyone's wrong. Jesse said it was. That they're illegal or legal? That they are legal. They are legal.
But he said it was like expensive.
So that's expensive to run a car?
It was like it's just not worth it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can increase your power band if you tuned. There's some cool videos about carbureted versus non-carbureted.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it like legitimately a concern? So like not concern, rather like a restriction. So like you just won't get enough speed. So for example, like you won't do certain things like put a turbo in because like you're just not going to hit enough power to make it worth it. That thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't get enough power to offset the weight of the turbo, then no. Yeah.
Did you explain the restrictors in front of them?
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Josh.
How many spare R6 motors do we have?
Running spare R6 motors or spare R6 motors?
Running spare R6.
One. And it's on ETS.
Then
So-
how many R6 motors?
Well, half of it's in South America. The
Oh, I forgot about that. Some team came up here when they were going to Michigan, and they were like messaging a bunch of teams, and were like, "Hey, do you have spare 6 parts?" And they're from Venezuela. They
Wasn't like all parts either, like crankshaft.
Yeah, I gave them a whole set of crankshafts, didn't or connecting rods.
Crank, connecting rod, piston, or no, not piston.
They were asking Americans for parts?
Okay, so
They were driving here.
they got their car running, and then they shipped it to Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, they picked the car up from the airport, and they knew something was wrong, and they went to crank it, and then it blew up. So they asked for spare
I was
parts.
gonna say, because in Colombia, where I'm from, you can get those parts dirt cheap on the side of the street. Any part you need for a car, you can pick up for half the price you can get here in the United States. So it would make no sense to just buy them from the United States and then send them.
Well, I mean, we gave them to him, so
Oh, okay.
I mean, oh. So,
How are y'all just gonna give the parts away?
bro, it's SAE. We're-
From Venezuela? Yeah, must be good stuff.
I don't like that was the exact wording.
They said like we have a gift for you, and all of us started laughing. And they were like, oh, it's good, and all of us like started making jokes. But yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Mark, do you want to answer that one, or do you want me to answer it? Let me answer it. So right now we're looking at compression cams. We're redoing the drivetrain because they're a little beefy right now. I don't know if y'all seen them. But
Oh, shit, problems, not.
problems.
We built a tank. Because we kept having reliability issues.
Yeah, we don't have any problems.
Chunky boy, as thick as it is.
Yeah, whoever was the E&D lead for the last 2 years is just busting.
Eggs. We just
Oh.
don't know.
That's
Yeah, a lot of
different. That's different.
Different load base.
Yeah, when our car like can go 100 miles an hour, it hits the oil pan on the ground. Tough. Morrison needs to fix it.
Look at the welding table.
Yeah, well, one of those, the bad one was Morrison's fault. Or I don't know, did you design his bell cranks?
No, it was me.
Oh, tough. It was the guy with the bathroom problems fault. Until the class is over, because I'm up here, dog. And you're late. Oh. All right. Any other questions?
Get the whole presentation?
Oh yeah, dog. No, this is just like I asked question slide in the middle of it. So like,
I think he did that at one point.
oh really?
Yeah.
They were asking like as we were going.
They're asking less questions as time goes on. It's not how it's supposed to be.
No, they asked more questions this time than like last year.
That was like 4 questions.
But last year was tough
They asked
because
more
like
questions in my class.
Your stuff's not real.
My stuff's more engaging to the class, because I constructed the PowerPoint presentation.
bro, it
I
just
will
has
say his drawings last class though, A tier, Picasso. His square was better.
If anyone knows any art students to draw pictures, you
there you go, dog.
At least both of them are better than John's.
How's the first?
Are those the Pistons you gave to the Venezuelans?
Yeah. They had like one of these in
Yeah,
there.
I'm glad they didn't have the Pistons. We hammered them out.
Oh yeah.
It's that block.
Well, we didn't want the block anymore. We just wanted to make like we wanted to make a block that we can just like throw in the chassis and use to do the frame and stuff. So yeah, dog.
Was our engine take forces?
Oh, that's a good question. So our engine's actually a load member for the chassis. So like, if the like car do something, like the engine do something. And here, I don't like. Y'all know like how structures.
You know, like the board, like circle. Sometimes when you load the chassis right, it's like non-circle.
You haven't tested that. You can't claim that you haven't tested it. But you can, because we took that one head. We took one of our engine heads and like milled it out so we can put like the thing in there and check like circularity. while it's getting loaded on his brain tester. But he's just scared to put the 5 on there.
I'm not gonna make parts for it. Apparently I'm in charge of one of the workshops.
The workshops.
Yeah, he's in the workshops.
Oh,
Cool.
sick.
Could you realistically turn your engine sideways? Like, not longitudinally, but I'm saying, or not transversely, but I'm saying like actually like, yeah.
I mean, I guess you're technically accelerating all the time. It's like that was the case, you'd be fine. Your oil would stay in the back.
Why not put it upside down?
Yeah, that'd be bad. Unless it was a 2-stroke, but we can't run those.
Can you run a flex fuel sensor and like play with different fuel mixtures?
We could just like put the fuel in there and tune it ourselves.
What fuel restrictions do we have? Bro, everyone's gonna bomb the rules set. That's why every time people ask me about it.
No, this man whipped out a notepad and was taking notes when I had the rules
Yeah,
slide
he's
up.
got 3 of them written down.
19 mil for E85 and then 20 mil for regular as well as on the side.
And the one gas.
You can run.
That was that on the side? E85 and then it was it just unleaded?
Yeah.
Yeah, just unleaded.
It's the 80s.
Are you changing the rule test?
What?
Are you changing the rule test this year?
No, but they don't know what's on it.
Well, they do now because I put it in there.
What?
I have a copy from last year and some book by
I'm
surprise.
still compelled.
All right. More questions? Yeah.
I want to run a single song.
Well, you want me to actually answer that or like the meme answer?
No, they give the full answer. Someone's gonna ask you at some point.
Well, I hope this is the answer you want me to answer with.
Is it, like make half the people in here leave? Yeah, don't give that answer. Then.
Okay. Then the meme answer. Okay, I'll give. Basically, we need to test it. Yeah, when we haven't tested it.
Also Australia.
What? No, the 450 is cheap. The 450 is cheaper than the We can get a new one for like 2, I think. Pretty good.
2,750 for a brand new.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Straight from Japan.
No.
Yeah, Nathan.
So a past ED once said it's like optimal to have airfoil pistons. Wondering why the team didn't show you that.
Well, I don't know what an airfoil is because I must have not been that E&D lead.
Oh, really?
Really? Okay. Yeah.
What, like, so you can run a 4-cylinder or a 1-cylinder, can you run something, like a 2-cylinder or 3-cylinder? You gotta find one.
Yeah, as long as under 710, you're okay. So if you find a 16-cylinder that's under 710 cc, you'll be okay.
The V8 has been run before. That's the highest cylinder count.
Someone made their own engine.
Yeah, there's no V8 equipment our disposal.
Who made
We're machining it from the ground up.
What school was that?
Western Washington.
Yeah, they made their own engine, but then they didn't have an onboard starter because they didn't read the rules, and they didn't get to run.
The car took 3 years to build from the top team.
What CC? They couldn't just figure out.
They just didn't plan on having it.
Apparently. I would have safety wired that shit on, give the driver a rip.
Bro, I would have taken one of those stepper drill bits, found the flywheel, sent that guy, and welded the starter in.
There's pictures online too.
Seems like Kansas running triple.
The triples have some back drawbacks, and then the doubles, like you look at everyone's history, and when they go from 4-cylinder to single, or vice versa, they'll try a double, and they'll try it for 1 year.
Oh, really?
The doubles pair themselves up. It's shit harmonics. It's
Bro.
weird.
It's probably worse than a single.
What CC's the GR Yaris motor? Is it big enough to run?
Bro, let me just like pull out the encyclopedia and say GG whatever the heck you said.
It's probably bigger than 710.
It's a 1.3 though.
No, it's 710.
So what's
1.3 liters?
Yeah, I don't know what CC is here.
It's 1,300 cc's. Yeah. See, I got that encyclopedia. You got a question?
I made this slide, I wasn't.
Oh, let me.
No one can answer it. Nobody?
There you go.
Yeah,
That's the slide Alejandro wanted to see. This is my first slide. Oh, whoa, I can't go to that one yet. Bruh, you just showed up? Someone ask him a question is gonna stump him. That's y'all's job now, because y'all are here.
That's a pride question. Yeah, I would want them to come up with a question for us. Test of knowledge.
If one of y'all ask him, is there any fuel restrictions, y'all just can walk out.
That whole power run. Did everyone just know everything?
Oh, they knew everything.
They knew everything.
Smart.
She just pulled up the second power line.
I got it ready. You wanna run it? Oh, tough. I gotta know from my man.
Please.
What are the dimensions of our cams?
You got me there, guys.
Oh, tough. I can't ask the question.
Stop. Yeah, honestly.
What's the firing order at the RSA?
Oh, nice.
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. You explain why it is the way it is?
I said it's the whole balance.
With balance what?
I didn't say that. The crankshaft. And oh yeah, I didn't think
That's the
about that.
biggest one for running real lean.
Yeah.
If you fire just in a linear order, you're gonna end up putting a shitload of heat in the center two walls.
Bruh. Where you going, dog?
Dang, I can't leave a cannon on the cannon.
That's just sad.
Composites already be there. Thing today. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. Bruh, it was an hour right now. That's what I planned for. Yeah.
So this is like really impractical, and there's probably a reason that you don't do it. You probably couldn't even find it to be dry, but we're looking for questions. So is there any benefit to running like a dozen drumming? Sort of balance setup as opposed to just golf springs?
Is that like the ones that like don't, the pneumatic ones?
Yeah.
The push pull? So why would you want to push pull?
So you could win conflict.
But you could just get stronger springs.
That's true.
Also, our engine's already rated for something that's higher than we go.
Yeah, I was gonna relay it back to power command. But yeah, all those.
So earlier in the PowerPoint, you said we were restricted to, in our RPMs, what are we restricted to?
Well, I mean, you can go as high as you want until you blow your motor up.
We restrict RPMs.
Yeah.
Not by our series rules.
What are we restricted to?
We have our RPM set to 14,000 and the bike runs to 13.5 or 17.5, my bad.
I can promise you can take an R6 up there.
I can promise you can take it up to 19K.
Once 18 is as far as I've seen it taken, come back down.
Bro, you get a 600 shot? That thing might go to 20.
There was a team that the last year on an R6, so they survived. It's an heck of a moment.
Yeah.
How bad?
How fat?
Yeah, how
is,
bad of
is
a
that
flag?
like diameter or length?
Just, I'm talking a fat flag, like how fat of a flag?
Is that diameter or length of the flag?
Both.
Both.
Volume.
I have a photo of the
Y'all lost my
R6 or
respect for the questions in this class.
I have a photo of the Raptor, a video of the Raptor on dyno. Bro, what am I doing? Oh, not that slide. I deleted my slide, dog. Oh, it's back. Okay, I have a video of the Raptor. It's on dyno. And when you let off, it just like shoots flame.
What was it like? Damn, that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. If you like went out and ran some insane time, they'd probably pull your motor apart. I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah.
Can you run nitrous?
Do we what?
Exactly, or like.
No, it's stock. Yeah. Yeah.
Backfire, bad.
Are you trying to spool your turbo? Wait, out of the intake or the exhaust?
I think the spool your turbo still stands.
Backfire doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing as long as it goes out the right side. And as long as like it doesn't happen while you're like trying to like make the engine like make power. Because like if you backfire, that means like your fuel's being used for something other than making the engine turn. Really? Ah, that's fair.
That happened to me once.
I mean,
That's why I asked.
back, the turbo sizing you run at FSAE, given that you're sucking through an inlet instead of pushing air, your turbo size is gonna be tiny. You know, it's usually for 6 PSI, 8 PSI. Yeah, that also, I mean, spooling up the turbo is no issue for us. And the power band, you're gonna be running it, so you barely run any lag.
Well, depending on size and pipe size.
So I mean, if you got a turbo capable of higher volume, you use so much pressure.
Yeah, I mean that's why I made that clause statement. I already said that though. No problem, dog.
What's your, like, from headers, like, all the way to your constants, like, what do you have in between? Is it just like straight pipe or?
Oh yeah, it's just a pipe. Some of it's bent, some of it's straight, some of it's like.
I mean, just like, I see the muffler, but is that all you guys run for?
Yeah, I mean, what you can, if you go sit on like and look in the side of the car and you like stick your head down there, you can see the headers. I mean, it's just like pipe. There's nothing special in there.
How many decibels is the car out right now?
It's rules legal. So what's the decibels at?
110, yeah.
And then what?
And then was it 102?
103.
102.
All right, so John wanted us to go for an hour and a half, right? And each of y'all's questions would take me about a minute. So,
Hey, BD's easy, right, guys?
bro, it's because I'm more fun than Morrison, aren't I? Oh, tough. Yeah.
On the teams that you run in turbo, are the mufflers smaller with the sound friction you get from the turbine itself anyway? Does that offset a lot of the weight cost of the turbo?
Michigan's last car, they told us that they only put a turbo on there because they wanted to pass down. So, yes. Yeah.
Are there any restrictions when we count these, or it has to be?
It can't be blown arrow. And I guess you can't like put in your driver's face. Yeah, as well, there's like rules about if you're past the rear roll hoop, like forward of the rear roll hoop, you have to put a heat shield on. So like if your driver's getting in or out, they don't burn their leg.
Yeah.
But like who cares about their driver? Tell them to get out of the other side.
Who are our drivers?
It depends who you ask. If you ask me, I'd say me. No, it just, we have 4 drivers. 4 of them are in here.
Scabbing.
4 of them. There wouldn't be a car.
No, only one of them are in here.
1.5.
You mean half of the driver is in here?
I mean, they need to grow a little in the use the clutch.
Oh, I don't think they're ever going to drive the car again.
That's probably better.
She was going to be a driver, but she couldn't reach the clutch. Also, I kept telling her to push the gas more.
I was.
Bro, you were not pushing the gas all the way.
All the way.
Okay, it was like barely hitting red line, and then like it like
This is where you get the shameless dad act plug. You drive it out. I was pouring the car. Yeah, you had to half throttle, bud.
yeah.
You can't reach far. Anyone else got any other like real easy questions?
Guys, we still got 26 minutes.
These games was too much. AJ told me BD was too much.
I tried to make mine digestible, but like I
I think most people.
I'll get hold on to it. Don't lose it. Keep thinking about it.
Here, go first question.
Alright, what's your question?
Why haven't you put a turbo?
We just haven't like weighed out if it's useful or not.
I have a serious, but like, have you tried like, I don't know, custom tires?
We have a whole bunch of them we need to test. I mean, technically the headers on there right now are custom, but with like 2Ks. Yeah. You should look at them. Your eyes will bleed.
Whoa. Whoa.
I saw those welds on there, John.
Those wells got 21st place, man.
What was your question?
You want to mention the control system?
It'll be in the, I think I'm gonna do that in third class. Okay, I was trying to weigh out what info I wanted to do in the third class, because we normally only have 2. But I was asked to do 3 classes this year. Would y'all be interested if I tried to teach y'all how to tune?
Yes.
But in here, it wouldn't be on the car.
Just in theory.
Just the theory.
I would vote.
Yes.
I'll try my best.
Make a list of everyone in here, so I can not provide them with a copy of this video. If you teach them how to tune, you're not gonna have any others like.
Bro, I tune quickly.
Yeah, you do.
That's all you need, dog. I got the Raptor to run, and the tune on the Raptor right now is my tune.
Where was the location? First got the Raptor run?
What, in Barnesville?
Yeah, what was the BAC of that Raptor running?
Oh, bro. Don't worry about that.
No, I'll ship this fucking motor with no information.
Okay, also, since it's a four-wheeler, no one like puts an ECU on there, so you can't find anything about ignition timing. You don't know like what it is to start, so like I was just putting numbers in for like your ignition timing to crank, and then like you just hear it fire out the intake, and you'd be like, okay, and you draw a little circle, and then you'd be like, well then it should be here, and then you type that number in, and it cranked. And yeah, people were pressed, and they were like, you're gonna blow the motor up, and I was like, well if it blows up, then like tough, we'll rebuild it. Yeah. It's a Drexler, so it's a Salisbury style. It kind of got like plates in there, and there's a spring. So, it's not like a normal. Oh, I meant to put something about driveline in here. Oh, did I really not?
You don't say ramps in that statement. I'm gonna be really sad.
Or I'm going to.
Dude,
We only need 23 more minutes.
Presentation dead, Dave.
But yeah, basically like there's like little clutch plates in there, and you can tighten the like preload. And if this wheel has enough force, it'll spin freely of the other wheel. There are ramps in there if John wants me to mention it.
There are ramps in the forward and the rear. That's very important for the Salisbury.
Okay.
I'm sure you probably never run Salisbury.
Yeah,
Very, very unique.
it's pretty cool. It holds like 3 times the torque output of John's 350, and it's on our car. It doesn't make 3 times the torque output of an F350. Bro, let me take the restrictor out. Give me the stepper bit.
No one probably has because of weight, but has anyone ever ran all-wheel drive? Probably do.
Soft.
Really? The hub motor cars suck? Oh, my bad.
No, I don't know.
They're training rates?
No, you don't have a problem putting power down when you're restricted, right?
Right.
So you're more traction limited than you are power limited, so four-wheel drive gave you advantage of them, did better. They were skilled enough game to where, you know, it didn't break. Itself was impressive.
Take half the load off the rear axles.
Our rear axles, we handle like 18.9 load, but
I haven't seen strain gauges on his axles yet.
Where are our axles from?
the other is 2140 Rockwell.
What's in between the gearbox and the differential?
Sprockets and chain. Yeah. I need to go into the drive line more. I think I have the thing in the second one. Yeah, I do. But it's like one slide. I need to put more in there. Yeah. We have 6. No. Right now the theoretical top speed of that car is 120.
No restrictor.
No, just like gearing. Yeah.
You guys are taking the car to like cookout or something, just on the road?
Yeah. We like put in the trailer sometimes and drive to Michigan. And we get food on the way.
But you never driven it on the road?
No. You can find videos of like the like you can find videos of like the FS India teams or like the FS Brazil teams. They'll like drive them around on like the highway and stuff. You'll see them like get on the entrance ramp and there's like real cars next to them. I'm like, yo, it's so dumb. Oh yes. Yeah. If y'all are bored one day, just like look up FSAE team test IA on bulldozer. They lowered like the top, like the the track hose that like you shovel the dirt. They like lowered that guy into the ground, and they just took their car and plowed it into the front of the like bulldozer. And the guy didn't have a helmet on. They also like were seeing what speed he was at, like with some guy on his dirt bike next to him. It's a great video. Bro, everyone's leaving. I haven't got the memes yet. Is that why everyone's staying? Any more questions?
I'm just impressed. Is it too much information? Is it too little?
I tried to make it fair. Do y'all feel like y'all learned too much or not enough?
Wow.
The right amount.
I think we could have fit like more drivetrain in
Yeah.
on this presentation probably.
Okay. Yeah, I probably should have. It's a little late. Dog, I haven't even had my NOS yet. Yeah. Yep. So we'll do CFDs for intake and headers.
Like,
Not so much for. I mean, you can for the muffler, but it doesn't matter as much because of the style of muffler it is. It's a I always pronounce it wrong. It's a Renault style. You know how to say it? No. I hate F1.
You're gonna get into that. You have 20 millimeter restriction. You're looking at a muffler that's off a bigger bike and has more flow.
That's fair. Yeah.
So back pressure is not very muscle ball.
What is the name? Himmelholtz?
It's too much shit on all.
Himmelholtz. Basically, like you have your muffler and then you have a tube and you have a tube around it. So like the tube still flows air straight through. The memes weren't good enough.
5 a.m. That's like bedtime, man.
Dog, I'm up till 5.
No way.
What do you mean no way? Text me at 5. I'll respond.
Oh, you want me to text you at 5?
Maybe not tonight. You said you want me at 10 tomorrow?
What?
10 tomorrow?
I was definitely gonna put some gas tonight.
oh, if we're playing CS tonight, maybe text me at 5.
You love the question? Send
Yeah,
out
it's
emoji.
Steve all week, like, we can take a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the names. Which one was your favorite?
Like the banana.
The banana one's my favorite.
Do you know this guy?
More of an SR20 guy.
Fair enough.
X.
Yeah, I would like a meme, but I'm afraid I'm not hip enough, you know, some people these days just don't think I can have cool things.
Okay, do you have a weapon key? Or why do you relate to that meme?
With the bananas.
Oh, the one that says weapon key.
I should have changed that to before formula and after formula. Yeah. My Datsun still doesn't run. Kind of sad.
Do you drive like a Tacoma by any chance?
I do. All right, y'all got any questions? I still haven't asked questions yet. I have a list in my book bag. Tough, I was bluffing. I bet I do. I usually have like all my stuff in. What? Oh, ask a question. Both of y'all have to ask a question. These are your leaders, so they should know everything about this up here.
I'm surprised you wasn't lying.
Yeah, dog.
Because then Grana's got asked a question and I'm on it.
Oh, I do have questions. I've been doing this for too long, mates. You want me to ask questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, dog. I'll ask. Choose the number 1 out of 25. 80. What? What? Did someone say 80 something? Dog. I'm no mathematician, but
19.5.
all right, that rounds to 20. Oh, 12, that one's easy. What engine platform do we use? 6. Nice. You want another one?
No, that's it.
Are you trying to beat Arrow's time?
I mean, we can. I'll be here till 5. I have to download CS on the computer now.
I'm assuming you guys are running a movie, right?
R6 is cast aluminum. Yeah. Yeah.
And, I mean, all your engines are also.
No. What are they? I think they're.
Like, stock before drop. They came stock before we dropped.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Almost every modern car now also comes with board crank. It's just such a cheap addition. It
Yeah.
Increases the durability and body stretch and the working. That and just having the straight up centrifugal forces kind of merge. Forging also decreases the likelihood of cracks, as well as a lot of other material defects. So it just makes too damn much sense to pay the money for forging and then under design as well.
You want a question y'all haven't asked? What is the octane rating of the 85? Nice. It's pretty close. Depends on the season. Because corn. I think that's right. Yeah.
The racetrack over on Canton ran 80 one day. I just read 80. My friends just sat there. We're like, all right, well, we got 2 miles. We're gonna find something closer.
Bro, I got 25 questions up here. Oh, you want me to? John, are you sure you want me to ask these questions? You're gonna recognize these, John. What is octane?
I mean,
No, like what? What is it?
Boom.
The rate of like flame range or whatever, like how much heat it takes for her to combust or something like that?
It's the resistance to combustion. Yeah. What is volumetric efficiency? Nice. What is compression? Equation. Yeah, technically. There's like, you subtract bottom dead center minus top dead center over bottom dead or top dead center. What is ignition timing? When you spark? Yeah, so it's what degree of your crankshaft you spark at. What is the difference between batch and sequential injector firing? Yeah. Yep. What is the difference between the 85 and 93? We technically went over that. Someone wants to hit it though. Okay.
I got one for you, Dave. Why would you consider running 85 when you drop a millimeter off the restrictor? Makes more power. It is less energy dense.
Less chance of detonation.
Not a problem getting on the line. That is certainly an advantage.
You won't, or else we would be. You won't, or else we would be running it.
There's plenty of reason to run it.
Think about what an O2 sensor does. Yeah. What does it measure? Yeah.
So we constantly have to change the tune for whatever the ratio of the 85 is.
Yeah, right. So although it's less energy dense, you can get more energy with less oxygen. 85. So in fact, we're going to end up with a stronger reaction than the options are in fact. Also, there's a reason they picked 20 millimeters and 19. It's a fucking close trade-off. But some people feel they can get advantages out of the cool combustion chamber, as well as some people feel the advantage of having carrying their fuel, or the disadvantage rather is traded off by the power.
Because you can run higher compression and stuff.
Very much dependent on how you build your whole power coming out as to which one will be better. Fortunately, we don't have much money to do both ideologies.
Hey, John, I asked enough of these questions that I think I need to change the subgroup test.
They're gonna fill it in.
Tough.
I think you lost some people over there. So it's a weird spot.
Tough, Nathan. It was close by 8 minutes. I could have gone longer.
You could restart your car for your
I will say, he did restart from the beginning for the people that came in late.
Whoa!
Call out. All right, any serious questions before y'all go? Yes, I need to stop this recording and do something with it. Unlike last time I recorded it, you know what I did with it? I got an email that said your recording's ready. I never did anything with it. At least I recorded this one.
I guess it right.
All right. If y'all want to talk to me after class, you can. No. I'm a lone wolf dog. I was trying to give those teacher vibes.
I don't drink enough. I don't get to speak. I get to speak over. Like 3 seconds. Game over, but that's fine.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked if it was an interference motor is because I have some type of bad juju with me and interference motors. Because every single interference motor I've had has blown. Just on a normal drive, going to the bank, GTI, E888, time BJ just failed and the cylinder and valve decided to kiss and engine went boom boom.